Hello, we are students of the University of Brasília from the course of Engineering of Production, and through the subject taught by the teacher João Melo, we as a group of 4 people did a critical analysis of sustainability in the 2014 World Cup based in Brazil. But first, let us understand a little about what environmental sustainability is. Environmental sustainability translates into the achievement of economic and social development with the preservation of nature. The 2014 World Cup represents a major sports event programmed for Brazil, so the government planned to guarantee environmental sustainability in order to establish the Green Cup. It starts with some sustainable measures such as stadium certification, which would include the sustainability and construction and renovation of this, use of solar energy and rainwater, natural ventilation, accessibility for people with any special needs, and the guarantee of public transport for the population of several states, and transportation for tourists to the stadiums. But in the midst of so many goals, only few have been complete, and many have not left the paper plans, bringing various weaknesses and distancing the event for its ultimate goal. With the knowledge provided by the subject project's methodology of system of production, we are able to identify and analyze the importance of planning a project, taking care of effectiveness and compliance. To take a closer look now, let's focus on 4 areas of sustainability and talk more about each of them. These areas are solid waste, public purchases, urban mobility, and finally carbon and water footprints. First, let's talk about solid waste. The procreation of solid waste is a major environmental problem faced by most urban centers on the road. Management, destiny, and reuse in the most correct and planned manner are challenges to be overcome on a daily basis. In large events like this, a huge amount of waste is produced in a short time. With this is a great need for a more effective solid waste management. During the 2014 World Cup, all the solid waste produced in 12 stadiums that hosted the game for the competition was collected and sent to recycling in cooperatives. Coca-Cola Brazil, in partnership with FIFA, was responsible for the waste management action. In all, there were 840 trained people for that. The host cities of the event in this contest have a unique opportunity to accelerate compliance of legal requirements, prepare strategies for the management of the waste generated in the events in order to incorporate in the necessary sustainability and provoke change in culture and technical advances, so as legacy of the competition, also known as Green Cup. Even with a number of established sustainable projects and objectives, solid waste management presented many weaknesses. From the point of view of the final disposition of the residues, almost all destined their residues to landfills. Only Brasília has a dump, and in most of them there are composting initiatives, although small in scope, restricted, and has been said to large generations in pruning. Composting initiatives are practically relevant from the point of view of the reduction of waste to land and the use of the resulting compound. The increase in the productivity of civil construction in recent years demonstrates in areas with exponential growth, which implies a great problem of solid waste treatment. This graph clearly shows that in Brazil there is typically a high level of construction waste, given that with the 2014 World Cup this scenario have increased considerably. With the absence of public policies that promote supervision, several impacts were provoked, such as appearance of several clandestine deposits in further areas from the urban perimeter, public administration expenditures with corrective management models and many other weaknesses. A strategy adopted by some countries to attract investment is to hold major sporting events where it has great repercussions in the world media. It is a great opportunity to increase infrastructure, anticipating works and interventions that were necessary even without the event. In the case of the 2014 World Cup, according to the Copa Portal, the plan was to invest 50.6 billion in the host cities, which would be destined to urban mobility, construction and renovation plans in airports and stadiums, security, telecommunications, and development. According to the World Cup booklet produced by Social Communication Secretariat, it is estimated that 17.6 billion will be spent on infrastructure works, among them investment in mobility, renovation and construction of new airports, and investment in security. The environment sustainability in the construction of stadiums was made voluntarily by the Brazilian government. This was one of the requirements for National Bank for Economic and Social Development to fund the construction works. The sustainability project resulted on the receipt of the certification leadership in energy and environmental design given by the U.S. Green Building Council to buildings which ascertained usage the sustainable concepts. In spite of several sustainable initiatives in the World Cup, there were a lot of damages. According to the balance of federal government, the Brazilian World Cup expended 25.6 billion, that is 10 times more than expected when Brazil was choosing the headquarters on the game 7 years ago. Beyond the difference between the initial plan and the reality, other relevant fact is that the proposal was that the cost would be majorly funded by private enterprises, which did not happen, given that 83.6% of amount was originated from public coffers. The main investments were destined to construction related to public transportation, renovation and building of the stadiums and airports. To assure that the 12 host cities had appropriate stages to host the game, more than 7.9 billion was invested. The high spent of public money caused overbilling and indignation of the population. Urban mobility. According to data provided by the National Agency of Land Transportation (ANTT), during the 2014 World Cup, around 3.4 million people use interstate road transportation service to travel to the 12 host cities, which means that 2,077 extra travel were requested. Even though the demand has been fulfilled by the interstate transportation, many of the pledged projects to the event reception were not concluded and were not even initiated for not having a basic engineering development. Pursuant to research made by BBC Brazil, only 24 of the 44 transportation buildings planned to the Cup were finished. The cities that were supposed to receive those buildings were Recife, Cuiabá, and Fortaleza, when actually, until 2015, these two last ones did not conclude any project. Although there were projects in other cities, the concluded construction were restricted to transportation that lead directly to the stadium. It is valuable to use Brasília as example. The city had a project of subway expansion which would connect the north region to downtown, that is 7.5 kilometers of metro line, with estimated value of 700 million, of which 630 million will be loaned by the union. But the local government did not have an engineering basic project to start the construction. Besides all this construction that were not carried, some were interrupted for suspicion of irregularities, such as the light rail. According to specialists, the urban mobility solution were a kind of advertising, given that, regarding this matter, Brazil has no support, as other countries that also hosted this event. Carbon and water footprints. The main aim of the carbon footprint is to estimate the greenhouse gases emissions by the prepared event and by the 2014 FIFA World Cup realization. The central focus was to estimate emissions originated from activities directly controlled or influenced by FIFA and LOC. The water and carbon footprint foresaw that the event would generate a rate of 2.7 million of CO2 and increase more than 50% of water consumed, include the preparation and accomplishment of the Confederations Cup and the World Cup. The World Cup is responsible for most of the emissions, followed by the Confederations Cup that also contributed significantly. On the whole, the international transportations correspond to 50.6% and intercity transports correspond to 29.5%, and these are most significant contributors. The intermediate contributors are lodging with 5.7%, temporary installations construction with 4.1%, and urban transportation with 3.6%. Bearing in mind all the analysis made during this project, it is concluded that the opportunity created by the 2014 World Cup Brazil had a lot of positive consequences to urban development of host cities, such as the usage of recycled concrete to build stadiums and also deployment of systems of rainwater reuse. Nevertheless, because Brazil is a country in development, there were deficiencies, such as not completion or ineffectiveness of several projects, causing the failure of Green Cup and resulting sustainable debilities, a solid reduce carbon and water footprint, urban mobility, and public spend. With that much debilities, the World Cup left a legacy in which prevail over billing and water trace of society.